As Packers training camp continues, they get a triple dose of good news that we're going to talk about in this video. Of course, there's been a couple of hiccups along the way, one of them coming from our running back, Marshawn Lloyd, a guy that we've been super eager to see what he can do when he gets out on the football field. But I think more so for him, he's been more eager than us Packer fans to get out there and showcase what he can do. But it's not all bad because it wasn't a serious injury and it happened to come from a free agent pickup of Brian Gutekunst and getting a guy like Nate Hobbs, who was just going out there and doing his job, coming up, making a great tackle, putting his helmet on his knee. That being said, Marshawn Lloyd's injury is not going to be a serious one, but there's a lot of good things and storylines that have come out of training camp. One of them coming from Bo Melton. Of course, one of the bigger storylines this offseason is, what do the Packers do with Jair Alexander? Is this a guy that they keep and restructure, or is this a guy that they just let go, save a bunch of money? And by doing that, you're going to make yourself really thin and vulnerable at the cornerback position. But then Bo Melton, right? So Bo Melton is one of those decisions that the Pack organization were, okay, what do we do with this guy? Because now we're loaded at the wide receiver position. And this guy's too good of an athlete to just let go, because we've seen what he can do and showcase out on special teams. But how do we play him on this Packer team, right? So what do we do with Bo Melton? So obviously, there's been a lot of talk this offseason of, man, did the Packers make the wrong move in keeping Bo Melton and then deciding to play him at the cornerback position? But here's what Brian Gutekunst had to say. He said, yeah, when he was coming out of college, all of his testing numbers kind of screamed corner. His short shuttle, his three cone, his explosive numbers, his speed. Again, they screamed receiver too. But again, right when we brought him in, it was something that we discussed as a personnel group. But then again, he took off at the wide receiver position, and certainly we needed him in some of those occasions. If you remember, there was a lot of injuries that happened. Christian Watson, I think Romeo Dobbs was out at that point in time, maybe even Jaden Reed, and they needed Bo Melton to step up, and that's exactly what he did. But he goes on to say that I think, again, it's very, very early. It's only been 5-6 days, and I think the decision that Matt LaFleur made of kind of keeping him at corner and letting him grow there and see how that's worked out was wise, because he's done a really, really good job and a lot of good things out there. Matt LaFleur had this to say about Bo Melton. He said, he's done a nice job. When you watch him through the course of the drills, the skill set is there. It's just getting an adequate number of reps to go out, be comfortable out there in a very difficult position to play. I'm really pleased with not only how he's approached it, but how he's gone out there and executed. Man, approach and execution. Okay, so those are two encouraging words for us as Packer fans, because you hope that the athlete that is out there is approaching his position properly. I think of Elton Jenkins, and I think him looking at Zach Tom, the younger guy, of like, hey, listen, I'm not worried about the contract. The contract is going to work itself out. All I got to do is go out there and play. And Bo Melton is one of those guys that could have been incredibly discouraged because he's being taken out of his position at wide receiver. But he doesn't look at it that way. He's approached it very positively, and he's gone out there and, of course, executed. So that's encouraging news for us Packer fans, because this is a guy that is certainly an asset to the Packer organization when we start talking about Bo Melton and just what he can do out there. Okay, so another great storyline forming is Jordan Morgan. Okay, so Jordan Morgan is one of those guys that Brian Gutekunst went out and spent a first-round draft pick out of Arizona. And it seemed like a stretch at the time. The Packers needed some D-backs, and they don't. They go and address Jordan Morgan, and you're getting a glimpse of what Brian Gutekunst does within the drafts. He's been doing it. He builds on the offensive line. He wants to protect the asset. He wanted to protect Aaron Rodgers, now Jordan Love, and he's realizing that that's such an important position to have some competition out there. And I couldn't agree more. Jordan Morgan, I'm super excited to see what this dude can showcase and do. I think this might be one of those sleeper guys when you start talking about guys that are forgotten, who were taken in the first round last year, and then all of a sudden are becoming such an asset to their teams. In fact, Jordan Morgan may end up starting, when it's all said and done throughout training camp and then preseason. We'll see how it all unfolds. But Adam Senovich said, confirming Morgan is now spending time at edge with Jenkins back on the football field because, you had Jenkins out, you had Aaron Banks out. So then, you had Jordan Morgan playing primarily guard. Of course, that was where he stepped in last year for, with the competition that was at play there. But he goes on to say that we think we've been kind of limited with Banks and Elton Jenkins out, but we had to focus him right at guard, but now he's getting some reps at tackle as much as possible and getting some competition out there at the left side and see how it goes. He said that he's really excited of what Jordan Morgan has shown from both positions on tape. And that's encouraging news for us Packer fans because Jordan Morgan, again, seemed like a stretch of a pick. But now that he's healthy, he's gone out there. This could be one of the steals in the draft when you look at just how athletic this dude is. Of course, remember, the Commanders were looking to trade up to go and get this guy. I'm super pumped up. I'm excited about watching how this unfolds throughout training camp. But then another really positive thing is, of course, you've got the storyline of Matthew Golden and Savion Williams and all of those things. But I'm excited about Jordan Love. Jordan Love getting the weapons around him. When you look at the weapons that are there at the tight end position, at the wide receiver position, you can't help to get excited about what Jordan Love could potentially be and become this year. I'm super pumped up about it. You've got Romeo Dobbs, Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, Tucker Kraft. And now you've added guys like Savion Williams and Matthew Golden. Uh, the sky could be the limit for Jordan Love this year. And I think the one who's going to capitalize the most is not going to be the wide receiving core. It's going to be Jordan Love, because bringing in Matthew Golden, bringing in Savion Williams, and having the pieces that you went out and drafted, even bolstering your offensive line in free agency and through the draft, is only going to help Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packer offense to flourish. And here is what Jordan Love had to say about that. He said, I was definitely surprised going into the first round, having the draft in Green Bay and hearing it was the first time since 2000, whatever. And I think it was 2002, that they went out and drafted a wide receiver. So I was excited to get Matthew Golden and Savion. Those are two guys that I think are going to add some dynamic weapons to our passing game. We've got a lot of weapons, and certainly I think they have a lot of weapons. And I think Matt LaFleur, with his coaching ability, the sky's the limit for the Green Bay Packers offense. I really do think that Savion Williams is that utility knife type of guy. They've talked about putting in Matthew Golden into a jet motion. Then you've got Jaden Reed that you can do all those sorts of things with. The Packers offense could be one of the more explosive offenses this year. Leave your comments. Let me know your thoughts. And as always, go Pack Go.